Destiny's active players are hitting and even surpassing historic lows, even reaching a point that Bungie once described as being 5 weeks away from shutting down entirely. Welcome to Inside Games, the only gaming news show brave enough to ask, is this the fate of all games as a service game?
I mean, I tend to think so, yeah. But I still hope that Helldivers 2 will continue to be pure and wholesome in these troubled times. But yes, if the goal of the game is to engage you, to get your money, I don't know. This is just where it's going to end up. It's not a good sign, and man, I don't want to see it go away.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen to most of these. Zuhad Ali, writing for the Game Post, collected months worth of player data for Destiny 2, revealing that the game recently hit its lowest average player count ever on Steam.
Yeah, ouch. Yeah, that's an oof. The Game Post reports that figure at 17,400 average players. Although, when I looked at it, it actually had dropped a bit since then. So now it's a new record. Hooray. Now sitting at an average player count of 16,494.5 for the last 30 days.
What a point, half a player. That's weird. That is a record low since the game launched on Steam in 2019.
But the usual caveats apply here. That is only Steam, and it only goes back to 2019.
Yeah, that's true. Console, I'm sure, has quite a few Destiny players as well. Destiny hopefuls like to imagine that the game's health isn't fully represented by this Steam data. Maybe the drop-off hasn't been so bad on the other platforms there, Lawrence, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, hope shines eternal. But unfortunately, there is a new tool called popularity.report that pulls even more player data directly from Bungie's API across all platforms. And it's not looking any better out there.
Ah, dang it. I was hoping they were playing on the Xbox One. According to this data, Destiny 2 now has fewer players total than its previous lowest point, which was during 2017's Curse of Osiris expansion.
And that was bad. Man, I remember playing Curse of Osiris. That was boring as hell. Just big empty rooms you had to run across over and over again. There's more to do in the game now, but there's also more competition now. So yeah, here's the data though. The previous lull occurred in mid-March 2018, which saw daily online players hovering around 400,000.
Oh, okay. But in recent weeks, daily players are hitting low to mid 300,000, occasionally even dipping below that.
Yeah, so, how dire is that? Well, Ali in the Game Post references a GDC talk in 2023 from current Bungie studio head Justin Truman, in which Truman described performance like this as, quote, fucking terrifying.
Whoa. Maybe that was before they were bought by Sony? I don't. Maybe now it's not as bad. Here's the full quote from the Game Post. Quote, this moment right here in February of 2018 was fucking terrifying. So this graph shows the trend of our weekly active users, and at the rate that we were shedding players, if this continued for just 5 more weeks, we would run out of players. The entire population would be gone, and we were seriously looking at potentially being 1 month away from having to just close up shop on Destiny 2 altogether.
1 month. It's that bad? Truman also said that at the time, Bungie was, quote, literally 5 weeks away from shuttering Destiny 2 as a product.
Boy, they got to launch Marathon quick.
Yeah.
And now
Just up those robots.
Yeah, right? Now the situation's even worse, so does that mean we're 1 month away from Destiny closing down entirely?
It's hard to imagine that future, and you're right, Bruce. That was before they got acquired, so maybe there's more tolerance for running lean. But we have a few, we can. This is theory crafting, I guess. We can imagine a few scenarios that make this situation not terminal. It is possible that since Bungie is now splitting development efforts between Destiny 2 and their upcoming extraction shooter Marathon, that player and profit requirements aren't as high to continue operating Destiny 2. It's got less devs on it, less expectation. Let's hope that's the case.
Yeah, that sounds right. There also might be a hope that Marathon will bring a lot of players and revenue back to Bungie, relieving pressure on Destiny to carry the studio, because it's clearly the only thing they're doing. But Marathon has been the last, probably 2-3 years for them, at least. And so they're doing closed alpha tests and stuff like that. So maybe something will pop.
Yeah, maybe. That's clearly what they're digging for. But Marathon hasn't had the most promising lead up so far, so need a pretty stellar turnaround to get a result like that.
Yeah, the game's middling alpha playtest led Bungie to indefinitely delay the game's release. That was originally scheduled for a month ago. It's supposed to come out on September 23rd. And they're just now doing, I think, open Steam beta or closed alpha tests on Steam if you want to sign up.
Yeah, that's been the only other substantial update since it getting delayed indefinitely is, we got a closed alpha playtest that you can apply for now. and it'll run from October 22nd to 28th.
Yeah. Studio has stumbled hard in recent months, shedding nearly 50% of its workforce between October 2023 and now. That's a lot of people.
It really is, yeah. And the reason for that, well, certainly a contributing factor is that before this run of layoffs, I think there were 3 layoffs or 2 layoffs and 1 reorg that had a lot of employees move into Sony, or some employees move into Sony. Sony acquired Bungie. That happened in early 2022 for $3.6 billion, which is apparently not enough to keep a dev studio running. Like, that's not enough runway for 2 years? I don't know. That's a little weird to me. Where'd all that money go? But I don't know. Pete Parsons has a garage full of classic cars and a golden parachute or whatever. So that's business. But I don't know, Bruce. Do you think there's any way Destiny can turn it around? Or do you think Marathon has any shot of being the studio's savior?
Boy, oh boy, those are loaded questions. Destiny, I don't know enough about. So I can only read reports like this and see that player count is going down. I can't actually tell you if it's going to die or not. Going back to your earlier question about whether or not this is what happens to all games as a service, the answer is yes. They don't go out on a high. Games as a service are going to milk you forever until they can no longer make any money. So they're going to peter out and eventually just sort of fade away. It's a slow death for these games. It will not be like we did it. We got 1 million players. Shut it down. Like, that'll never happen. Because they need to literally milk every single last microtransaction out of you before they can no longer pay their employees. Marathon, I liked Marathon. I've said this over and over. I actually liked it. I was one of the only people that enjoyed it when I played it. Maybe I got lucky, but everybody else did not like it. And with the indefinite delay of Marathon, I don't see Marathon saving the studio maybe a year from now or 2 with like a skeleton crew from Bungie left at Sony. But I don't see Marathon nobody's anticipating the game like they are for Arc Raiders. You know, like everyone's really excited about Arc Raiders. Marathon, not at all. So when Marathon launches, it's probably going to launch to a thud and then sort of build steam over time if they allow it to do that.
Yeah, I agree with virtually everything. It's a tough situation. I think I was kind of surprised at how lean Marathon seemed as a game in terms of its concept and its content. If this is the result of $3.6 billion and a ton of hiring that Bungie had to overcorrect for. And if that's the case, then man, it makes me wonder what all those people were doing that whole time. Because all that work just went somewhere, and it doesn't seem like it ended up in the game. Kind of going to a different point about like Destiny trying to earn people back. I did see a lot of comments on Reddit of people just basically expressing that they had no faith in the game or they didn't want to invest in the game because Destiny Windows content. They have like vaulted expansions in the past, stuff you can no longer play. And I certainly understand the emotional punch of that, especially if the game is asking you to invest in it. It's trying to do that games as service thing to get you playing every day and doing quests and unlocking things. The second they kind of violate that implicit contract that you get to keep it all, then I can see why players would lose faith in that system. Although, contrarian opinion here with myself, Final Fantasy XIV Windows all like nothing. Everything they've made since their 2.0 relaunch has stayed in the game in some form. They've actually gone back and iterated through stuff and like taken out filler quests, but apart from that, they have kept it all. I guess Warframe, another good example of that. I don't know how Warframe's doing, but Final Fantasy XIV has been dropping players as well. And I think they've mostly been sticking to their philosophical guns about how they treat their players. So while I get it from the Destiny side of things, I think I don't know if that specifically would fix it. I think it would draw a lot of players back to be interested in it. But as for whether or not they'll keep playing, I think it's just a different world now. I think there's so much competition, there's so much choice, and what games as service games want you to do is basically repeat the modes that they put up for you, just to grind out engagement hours. Ideally, the game's fun to play, so there's no foul there. You just have an excuse to keep playing. But yeah, if you have all these other games, 5 new games a week, it gets increasingly harder to decide to spend the evening playing, grinding out daily quests in Destiny 2. That's just where I'm at, though, especially with how, I think, accessible A lot of very premium games are these days.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Destiny is interesting because I've played it sort of over the years here and there, and I'll sort of drop in when a lot of people will also drop in and then play for a little bit and then fall off. And I think maybe a lot of people are like me, I'm not sure. For the diehards, the only time I ever see that player count pop is when they release something that everyone seems to anticipate. And I don't know that I don't know that Bungie as a studio is currently in that development iteration pipeline. I don't know if they're still being like, oh, we've got this new cool thing that's coming out in like 2 months. Just wait it out. Like, I don't know that they're there yet. I think they've shuffled a lot of those people, those developers over to Marathon. And those people are now going to Marathon to make stuff for Marathon. And then Destiny's sort of on the back burner. So maybe Sony knows that. Maybe Sony's like, don't worry about it. Let Destiny sort of be its thing, do its thing at whatever, 200,000 players for a year. And then if you guys could work on an expansion, take a year to do it. And then in a year's time, we'll pop it again with a bunch of players. And then, people will come back to Destiny 2 for a little bit. And they'll play Marathon. And then we'll have a money machine times 2. Probably not. But that's kind of what it seems like, is that they're allowing the people that were working on Destiny to go over to Marathon. At least the people that hadn't fucking laid off. And maybe... I'm just being hopeful. I'm being optimistic. It looks to me like Destiny's on the way out.
It does, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Bruce, because I think the event you're talking about is meant to be Renegades, the Star Wars themed expansion. Yeah, that's coming out. I was just looking it up. It's coming December, which is going to be after all the other blockbusters hit and Call of Duty and all that. So I guess we're in brand territory, which is where a lot of games and services has gone. Fortnite has led the charge on that, but even Call of Duty has gotten ridiculous with its integrations, but people seem to like them, and it seems to drive interest and engagement. What worries me is that it doesn't seem... I worry about headcount. I worry that this is going to be like a reskin of an existing map or a reskin of an existing game mode. But, they have official Star Wars laser sounds now. So I worry. I worry that it may not be enough genuine bespoke content, that Bungie may not even have the headcount to do that anymore. So if it's just coasting on the brand, I think people will bounce out of that real quick, but I guess we'll see.
You're absolutely right. And I'm excited. You know what? I will play Renegades when that comes out, because I like Star Wars. A lot of people like Star Wars and they like Destiny, so I feel like the pretty solid crossover. Whether or not they hold the players after that is the real question. Yeah,
and they're going to try their best. It's always intriguing to see how, games and service games try to get their hooks in you.
It's going to be Star Wars is what the answer to everything, it seems like. Thank you very much for watching Inside Games as usual. Please check out the Inside Games Patreon. Lawrence posts a free, very spicy meme, sometimes controversial, over on the Patreon. And plus all the content is free there as well, so you can just go watch it, even if you don't support the Patreon. Here are some wizards that decided to support our show all the way from the moon. John Warren Gallardi, Jack Willis, Rook, and Brown Sugar.
Actually, I've been playing a lot of Warframe lately. A lot of the dialogue reminds me of Destiny, just way less pretentious. Like, they had way more fun with it. But the pretense gives Destiny a certain aroma that's that it's valid too. So it's its own thing.